And there is the star of the moment, young Sindile, lying in the shade. For those of you just joining the show, this is a young male leopard with quite a deep history here at Djuma and for Safari Live. He is a cat that we've followed with intense interest for the last 23 months of his life. And we are lucky enough to be able to share this afternoon, or some of this afternoon at least anyway, with him. All right, it is a blisteringly hot day today, I must be honest with you. Some of you might notice the massive sheen that's coming off my forehead. That is from the liberal application of SPF 50 million sun cream. And I'm told that it would make a lot of you happy to see some of that on my head and about my face. Right, it's about 88 degrees Fahrenheit, about 30 degrees centigrade, and it's been a pretty busy day out here. We're all gearing up for big changes to come here in the FC. The ladies are going to be moving offices soon, and so these days between drives are absolutely filled to bursting, at least anyway, with a lot of planning and planning and planning. But we don't have to go into that now. We're on game drive now. We got a leopard to share some time with. Obviously covered in fur the way that these animals are, makes it incredibly difficult for them to regulate effectively their body temperature or their core body temperature, and that means that most of the predators, large anyway, like leopard and lion, find themselves resting up during the day. Now, it's not uncommon to find leopard walking about in the middle of the day. In actual fact, Karula, another one of the famous leopard that we have right here, walks around lots during the day, and it doesn't seem to have infected her grandson. That is exactly who we're looking at the moment. But while he catches his breath and gives us a moment to go across, he embarks on another one of his epic off-roading adventures. Yards from the vehicle that we're sitting in at the moment, and he's just panting away. Deliberately panting like that. Not only does he have a belly that's just full of impala at the moment, that impala is busy digesting, and he is an uncomfortable kitty cat, I think. That panting is a sign that he's got a full belly, one, but it's also a sign that it's pretty hot today. They can evaporate moisture off of their throat and their tongue, which cools them down a lot. There's a lot of blood vessels inside the tongue and the throat. And so that panting that they're doing over there creates that transfer of heat, and is something that even your domestic dogs and cats will do at home. You can actually see the pink inside the tongue. They've got a very red tongue, and that is because it's so jam-packed with blood vessels. Ah, there we go. He knew we were talking about his tongue. Have a look at those canines. Leopard, with the exception of caracal, have some of the longest canines in relation to their skull's diameters, and they make for incredibly good grasping handles or anchors. And what you're seeing there are the bottom canines. You can just see the canines sticking out there with the one incisor that we can see not covered by his tongue. And you can just imagine how thick those top canines are. Probably about as big as your baby finger. So if you hold up your baby finger, that's about as long as what they are, those bottom ones, and but the same diameter as well. And they then go backwards from there to a set of premolars that are designed to shear and cut. And that is how he would have cut off chunks of that impala. He would have bitten into it, creating a slight hole or a depression, and then moved from his canine through to his incisor, biting off a chunk of meat and then wolfing it down. And quite capable of swallowing about a quarter of his body weight in a setting. Predators have developed this bolting mechanism just so that they can keep as much of the meat they catch as possible. Don't forget, out here it's all a race for the easiest way to get food. And hyena and lion will absolutely steal kills from leopard, and do steal a lot of kills from leopard. So the more meat he can get in his belly, the quicker, the better for him, even if he has to relinquish his kill. Now, leopard, being the adaptable cats that they are, long ago realized that it was easier to hoist kills into trees. And as those of you who have watched for this morning and potentially yesterday would have seen, he had a kill hoisted in the tree, or in a tree, just out of hyena reach. And so the only other thing that could have stolen that kill from him would have been a lion or another leopard. Just see where he's lying up in the shade there now, panting. Almost invisible in that shade, in actual fact. And that very, very clear blue sky in a very dry bush. Aaron, all the way from New Zealand. Good evening, Aaron. Yes, sleeping is incredibly hot work, or must be at least anyway. I don't know, where we're sitting at the moment, we are baking in the sun. I can only imagine if my belly was full of impala, I would also be panting away there. But really, that's just to cool him down. They can tolerate heat. I mean, leopard are found into deserts, not true deserts, not onto sand dunes, but right onto the very edge of true deserts. And so they are fairly resistant to temperature increases and decreases. I think the highest that a leopard was ever found, there was a leopard found on the slopes of Kilimanjaro, frozen, or in the Himalayas somewhere, frozen at a couple of thousand feet above sea level. What that exactly is, I'm not too sure, but for those of you who are interested in those types of facts and figures, see if you can find the highest altitude leopard have ever been found at, or at least their presence has ever been found at. You're welcome to share that answer with me via email on questions@wildearth.tv or using the hashtag Safari Live, and I'll share it with everybody else here as well this afternoon. Remembering, of course, that is how you can speak to me and how we can keep in touch throughout the afternoon. Now, leopard are perfect ambush specialists, and that you're seeing there now, although not with his eyes closed at this particular moment, would be the last thing that most impala and steenbok and nyala and duiker and warthog will see, is just this spotty face surrounded by a ruff of fur, pink tongue, white teeth, and those very, very strong forearms. Have a look at how well developed and muscular those forearms are. And inside those forearms are housed the muscles that hold on to the tendons, that erect the claws that come out of his paws. They have sheathed claws, similar to your house cat. In other words, they are housed inside a sheath that you see there in his toe. He can then erect those claws, and they are wickedly sharp, curved claws. 5 on his front foot, 4 on his back foot. They are used to then grab the prey and turn it, using his back legs as well, turn the prey into a position where he can bite, usually either to the back of the neck, the skull, or underneath the jawbone. Now, it was always thought that leopard primarily strangle their prey, but I personally think that so Shamel, I'll answer your question in a second. For a long time, I actually thought that leopard, well, it's commonly known that that leopard will strangle their prey and do so. But I think that leopard will employ a different way of killing different things and can learn that at an individual level. And recent developments have led people to believe that those long canines are actually and can actually be used to cut off blood flow in the carotid artery, which brings on a type of unconsciousness in their prey very, very quickly, in actual fact. And that's just another one of those adaptations to limit noise and distress and disturbance, which will call in other predators very, very quickly. Shamel, you've asked about leopard, or about Sindile losing his prey. I don't actually know, Shamel, to be quite honest. The tree that he had his prey in is just behind us, but has nothing in at the moment. He seems to have come into the shade. I don't know if he's lost the kill to an impala. Oh, lost his kill to a hyena at least anyway. But let's see if he's maybe stashed it somewhere else. There's a good chance that he stashed it on this termite mound somewhere. Let's have a careful look around the termite mound. Starting at the base of the tree. It's not in the tree. I think even he would find it difficult to put his kill inside there. No, I can't see anything more. He may have actually finished it. I mean, there wasn't too much left. I doubt that he finished all of that. I'm actually convinced that it's lying here somewhere. We just can't see it. What we're going to do is wait for him just to get hungry in a bit and stand up and go find it. Or stand up and move to it. But it may have fallen out of the tree and he's just been too hot or too lazy or couldn't have been bothered to put it back in again. And now just relaxing in the sun, or in the shade, out of the sun. Chi-Town Connie, wow, what a name. You've just asked me how many kilos of meat can a leopard consume in a sitting. They can do about 25% of their body weight, and I estimate this young Sindile to weigh about 50 kilograms, 40 to 50 kilograms, maybe a little bit more than that. So a quarter of that would be, what is a quarter of that? It would be probably 17 kilograms, 15 to 17 kilograms of meat. Now, do yourself a favor and go and spoon out 17 kilograms of dog food into a bowl and see if you can swallow all of that. That's a lot. They can basically swell up so much that their bellies almost come past their back legs like a balloon. SF, who's a new viewer, and firstly, I'd like to say welcome to the Wild Earth family, and I'm sure that you're going to have lots and lots of fun with us. But excuse me, I haven't talked about the collar that you've been looking at for the last few minutes. That particular collar that leopard has on is a scientific instrument which pegs his GPS coordinate from time to time, and it was put there because he's under scientific investigation after having been quarantined as suspected for having contracted a rabies virus from him killing a domestic dog that had wandered into this reserve, a rabid dog that had wandered into this reserve. He killed it, and we all decided that it would be a good thing to request help from the local veterinary services, who then caught the animal, quarantined him, and then released him here a couple of months ago. And we use those collars to gather as much information as we can about this particular, or these cats, and in particular this particular cat, has added a level of confusion to the scientific world. And the reason for that is that males usually disperse from their natal range. They're supposed to, by nature, move away from where their mothers and their sisters live for obvious reasons of inbreeding. This particular male walked away as expected, and then from as far as 50 or 60 miles away, he walked all the way back again. And for no reason that the scientific community can understand. There's some speculation that because the Kruger National Park closed off a lot of watering holes, that food was just very hard to come by on the periphery of the Sabi Sands where we are now. And just by chance, he happened to come back and then stumble across his natal range. And only being 23 months old, he's still not really old enough to have left his natal range just yet. A leopard that wasn't taken away and quarantined will only be thinking about moving away from 2 years or so. And so the thought is that he's just hanging around close to mom. He's not a dominant male just yet, so he's not a threat to mating rights with other dominant male leopards in the area. So as long as he stays submissive and knows his manners, he will be tolerated. And isn't it just an amazing story that he managed to find his way back? And he's once again, he's not reunited with his mother. His mother has got a new cub, and so she won't tolerate him around. But it's not uncommon for mother leopard to make kills, go and fetch older cubs, bring them 2 kills, and then leave again. They help their babies out, in other words. So it would be interesting, actually, to find out whether or not he actually killed this impala, or whether his mother, a leopard we call Shadow, killed it and left it for him. Gee whiz, James Richard, you just helped us out with that. The highest a leopard has ever been found. And it was on the slopes of Kilimanjaro in 1919, ages ago, on the banks of some crater there that was at a height of 18,500 feet. That is an unbelievably high altitude for leopard to occur at. It was actually found frozen. The carcass was found frozen. But just goes to show that leopard are some of the most adaptable cats. They're found from the edges of our cities in South Africa, and in fact all the way across their range. You get different subspecies of leopard, but pretty much from Cape Town up through Africa, across onto Asia, and all the way through to the eastern side of China, you get some form of Panthera pardus, or the leopard. Very adaptable. So from 18,500 feet right onto the beach at sea level, from basically full jungle all the way through to just at the edge of dune sand deserts. Now, some would attribute that to just how hardy these cats are. I attribute it to a big intelligence. So, Mark, you've asked what tools we use to identify different leopard. Now, Mark, it's a combination of what their general... spot. I didn't quite get that. It's a combination of the general impression of this leopard's size and his shape, any distinguishing marks like scars or whatever. It could be an anomaly on the coat or on his tail. But the actual one is using that spot on the face, and there just above the whisker to the right-hand side of his nose, there's 3 lines or 4 lines of whisker spots. Those they'll use. And then you can see this particular leopard has what looks like 1 spot and then 2 spots right next to one another. That'll be unique to every leopard. That is like... And that and other small little telltale marks are what we use to distinguish which leopard is which. Now, as this leopard will get bigger, he will move off probably. The dominant males in this particular area, or males that are larger than him, will not tolerate him around when he starts to compete with them for mating rights with females, and they'll chase him from one area to another until he's big enough and strong enough to say, or push open a territory of his own, or oust another male, an elder male, or a male that's past his prime in another area. And he will have roughly an area of, I don't know, it varies depending on how close or far you are from river systems and from natural water, but around about 5,000 hectares here in the Sabi Sands is large, just on the large side for male leopard territories. And he will have a number of female territories in that. They will know of one another, obviously. They roar and they scent mark, and although they don't hunt together, they are very aware of what females are where in their territories. And when a female is exhibiting signs of coming into estrus, generally speaking, they will find the male, the most dominant male in their area, and through a lot of teasing, something caught his attention. Could have just been a fly or a grasshopper. The females will elicit mating. They mate for about 5 days or so, up to a week, and then they go on their separate ways again. Females are solitary mothers, with the male leopard not taking any role in the upbringing of kids whatsoever. You can see that full belly that he's got there now, just sticking out of the top. Usually, if he was not full of impala, that would be a sleek, continuous line. And you can see that breathing, that meat pushing against his diaphragm, and then also that panting to try and keep his core body temperature down. Very good condition, this male leopard, to be honest. I mean, for a youngster that's not really tied to his mother, having had the history that he's had, 9 months living in a quarantine facility, many people thought that he'd come out not fit enough to actually look after himself or to defend himself against anything, but, contrary to popular belief, he's managed to do all of that on his own. All right. Welcome back. Brent is having a little bit of signal issues there on Nyala Road South the black hole for our signals out here. Sindile's just looked up and seems to just be relaxing. I think he had a fly buzzing around his ear a little earlier. That was giving him that jerkiness that you had there. Let's have a look. While we are close like we are now, have a look at that black and white stripe on his ear. Now that is a following mechanism. That's how leopard talk to one another. So they use their ears and, well, a variety of things. Ears is one of the tools they use. And that black and white stripe will be used to signal cubs that are walking behind them. And that in combination with their tail, which for him we can't really see, but at the bottom of their tail is a pure white, about finger-length piece of hair. It's very expressive. We can't see it now. I'm just trying to see if we can actually. No, maybe in a bit we'll be able to see it. But that black and white stripe on his ears plus the white tip underneath his tail, following mechanism, that's how they will speak to their cubs when their cubs are following them and tell them a variety of things. Get out of danger, stay behind, stay hidden. Who knows what they can communicate with those ears. And then if you look at his bottom eyelid, you'll see an almost white stripe. Now when he opens up his eye, of course not now. All right, and now just because I want to speak about it, he's keeping his eyes tight shut. You almost think I can hear you. But it will allow me to talk about leopard intelligence. Their adaptability, for me at least, oh, look at that, there we go. Oh, amazing. I hope some of you got some screen grabs there. He's just resetting there, got a bit of hair. Oh, look at that. Look at those massive canines. Wow. That is impressive. Thank you. Look at the sharpness of those teeth. Very, very good condition. Quite often, older leopard have broken off canines. It's just the habits that they live. Tooth and claw. They get knocked out by being kicked and bitten through, and bones, really tough bones, might shatter a canine. Being kicked by something might shatter a canine. He's still got his. And just look at the condition of those teeth. Wow. And for those of you who are fast enough on your keyboards and got that quick snap of the inside of his mouth, you'll be privy to those carnassial shears, those teeth that act like scissors that you'll be able to see in the roof of his mouth and on his bottom jaw. They fit into each other like a zigzag pattern and will be used to cut out chunks of meat. So for those of you who are lucky enough to get shots of that, please share them around the community. Once again, you can send them to the hashtag Safari Live, pitch them up at emails, attach them to the emails, questions at WildEarthTV. Right. So, Stuart, you've just asked me, are leopards vulnerable after they've eaten? This leopard looks like he's lying down, having difficulty just breathing, let alone looking after himself. Good point there, Stuart. They are actually, to be quite honest with you. They are wary. Leopards who are not wary don't survive being cubs for very long. And so unwary leopards very rarely have the chance to mate and give birth to unwary cubs. And so wariness is just one of those things that leopard are sort of born with. Just wary cubs grow up and make wary babies. And you can see him very alert. But yes, essentially being full, lying on the side of a termite mound leaves him open to attack from lion and from hyena. And a lot of leopard are killed by both of those super predators. Other leopard, not at the size that he is at the moment. He's in that comfortable cusp between being a tiny cub, which dominant male leopards sometimes cannibalize, and being a full-grown adult male that is actually a threat to the dominant male leopard in this area. He's in that comfortable cusp where big males are leaving him alone, and he's not really in the danger of being cannibalized by a male leopard looking to bring his mother back into estrus. Now, back onto why I think leopard are so adaptable. They actually have a bigger brain in their heads than what lion do, from what I'm told. I've never poured water into a leopard's brain case to actually figure out how much volume it actually holds. Neither have our lions, although I've looked into both. They seem of a similar size. But I suppose if you factor in that leopard are about 4 times smaller than what lion are, it makes sense that they have a bigger brain per volume, and that is the measure of intelligence. And they are very adaptable. They can learn to hunt different things and to adapt to different environments very, very, very easily, as this young male leopard has obviously shown with his collar on, and from such a young age being so independent. Now, while he stares balefully off into the distance, we're going to send you off to Brent, who's got an update for you.
I know a lot of you have been quite worried about the tightness of the collar, and Gerry, the scientist, I came out with him today so we could inspect to see if it was too tight or whatnot, and it's fine. So there's about 2 fingers. He has still got a little bit of meat. As I said, I don't think there's going to be much left by sunrise tomorrow. Hello, little man. Then tell me when you get a gap. So he's in a little bit of a difficult spot. I think it might be better from the other side. Oh, actually, let's see, is there a hole? I don't think so. Is that a hole there, Vim? Okay, there we go. So he's spoilt us so much that I suppose he deserves to eat the remains of his kill in a bit of a thicket. There must be very little left. And definitely not enough left for him to warrant keeping it in the tree, so he's brought it down. Hi, Finn. Finn's 8 years old. Finn would like to know, how did he get a dog? So, unfortunately, Finn, when dogs get rabies, it makes them very sick. So they wander away from their homes and sometimes into the game reserves. So it was a sick dog who was confused, and it came into the game reserve. So I'm sure maybe it might have belonged to a family. I'm not sure. Now you see that black little part on the collar there? That is the drop-off mechanism. So it's magnetic. So when it gets too tight or the battery starts failing, that magnet will become, I don't know, I'm not a very good, VM probably knows a lot more about that than me, and it stops being magnetic and releases. Electric magnet. Thank you, VM. As I said, VM probably knows a lot more about that stuff than me. VM is a very technical person. Now, this isn't the best view. I'm going to scoot around to see if we can maybe get a better view from the other side. Bill's wondering, are leopards and jaguars in the same family? They most certainly are, Bill. So are lions. And there's another one. I'm trying to remember now. Tigers, thank you, tigers, yes. The biggest one, of course. So they're all members of the family Panthera. A leopard is Panthera pardus. A jaguar is Panthera onyx, if I remember correctly. And lions, Panthera leo. And I've forgotten the type. Panthera bengali, maybe. I think there's a different one. I might be wrong. Let's see if we can have a look through here, if there's a slightly better view. No, there's not. Oh, maybe there is. How's that, Vim? Yes, that's not too bad. Copy, thanks, F. at that. And it's got the head there of that young male impala. Now, you're going to hang around this time, young Sindile, or you are going to go wandering again? I think he's probably going to go wandering. From my chat today with Harry, it seems like his circles are getting larger and larger, and each time he stays a little bit longer away from his natal area. So eventually, he just might not come back. Now, strangely enough, on one of his last wanderings, he ended way down south around the Sabi River and actually went into the Kruger National Park around the park headquarters, Kakuza. But while he was on his wanderings, he went through a reserve called Sabi Sabi. And my little brother is a game ranger there. And my little brother got to see Sindile. Well, let's see if the arrow-marked babblers start to mob him. Sometimes they do. You can hear them babbling away. There we go. There's one for the birders and one for the big fivers. Now, he was most entertaining as a youngster, trying to catch birds out of guarri bushes and literally falling through them. As you can see, his hunting skills are vastly improved, and he's become a very successful hunter. And we've seen him now on this young male impala, but the last kill I saw him in was an adult male. Hello, Rob, who's in New Jersey. Rob would like to know, why are cheetah endangered and leopards not? Well, to say leopards aren't endangered isn't entirely true. It completely depends on the area. Leopards have been locally extinct in a lot of areas, and I think there's a lot less leopards than a lot of people think there are. They are considered threatened now in Africa, but the reason they are less endangered is a couple. Firstly, they're far more adaptable, and they are able to eke out an existence on insects and birds' eggs, and a great example of that are the leopards of the Western Cape Mountains. Now, just because of their diet, their body size is much smaller. A big male here can be generally between 75 and 80 kilograms in weight, and a big male leopard in the Western Cape Mountains is considered massive at 40, about Karula's size. Now, and a female can be as small as a caracal there, 12 kilograms, 15 kilograms. So, lots to do with the leopard size, to do with their diet and prey availability. So, of course, the leopards in this part of Africa are very spoilt. Lots of impala, steenbok, nyala, bushbuck, duiker, all to feed off. But the main reason for cheetah being endangered, apart from the obvious human influences, loss of habitat, illegal shooting, poaching, is the fact that they are over-specialized. So about 10,000 years ago, through genetics, they can trace cheetah to less than, I think it's 20 individuals in the whole of Africa. So all cheetahs have come back from that. Now, what happens in that is there isn't very much genetic difference between a cheetah in the Kruger and a cheetah in the Masai Mara. And you can actually take a skin graft from a cheetah in the Kruger and put it on a cheetah in the Masai Mara. Now, what happens with that the main problem with that is immunities to diseases and things like that. There isn't a lot of difference. So a female cheetah can't choose to mate with a male who's immune to that because their genetics are all so closely related. Cheetah are probably just one of those unfortunate failed arms on the evolutionary branch or on an evolutionary branch. And even without human beings, they probably would have become extinct in the next 5 to 10,000 years all by themselves. So in becoming over-specialized, they've become very fast, but the problem with that is they've had to evolve as a light bone structure, small head, not big jaws. So any small injury to them as well will cause them not to be able to hunt, and that will spell a death. Also, in losing a lot of power and strength for speed, they are very far down the pecking order of predators. So they are well below lion, leopard, hyena, wild dog, and I've even seen a group of about 60 vultures chase a cheetah off its kill. Now, it's so scared of being injured, and an injury can have such a massive effect on cheetah that it will move off a kill for vultures. And I've never seen it personally, but I've read records that a group of black-backed jackals have managed to mob a cheetah off its kill as well. I hope that helps explain that a little better. Now we're going to spend some time with the glorious young Sindile, because as I say, don't think he's going to be around in the morning. And we will certainly have a look while we enjoy our time here. Alan's found some more eddies. Well, there's not much left of that impala. He's busy getting into the brain cavity at the moment. Yum, yum, yum. Got to get your protein. And he has not wasted anything on this carcass. Even the little bits he's dropped out of the tree, he's gone to pick up and eat. Now, it's a tough world out there for a dispersal male leopard. I'm quite happy he's going to leave here if he goes on another long wander with a nice full belly. And I think he can thank the lions for the lack of hyenas to pester him, with the lions being very close by and being very vocal. I think only the bravest of hyenas would try venture into this area at the moment. Hi Rebecca, and welcome to Safari Live. Rebecca is from the Big Apple, and Rebecca would like to know what stops this male leopard leaping and making Viam and myself his next meal. Well, Rebecca, with leopards in particular, human beings don't generally fall within their traditional sphere of food, but in this case he's actually grown up around vehicles and people, and we've tracked him on foot many times. I've actually had him follow me back to the car a couple of times, but while we're in a car it smells of gasoline and oil, and it's only been around for about 100 years, so he doesn't have an instinctive response to it. Now, if we had to stand up and he could see the bipedal figure of man, he might get a bit nervous, and normally he would run away. And of course we don't want that, and we don't want him to attack us either, so we always drive very carefully and very respectfully around these animals, and that gives us the chance to see into their incredible lives out here in the African bush. Well, Arcadia says, wow, Sindile's eating was so loud, I thought someone was opening a bag of crisps. Well, we do have the king of all snackers, and when it comes to cameraman on the vehicle today, which was Viam, but he is not eating crisps. Oh, he forgot his snacks today. Oh, he's not looking happy. He must be very hungry. it's a good thing. We're making a big birthday dinner. Well, we're making a big dinner tonight, and we're going to have a little razzle-dazzle tonight. But don't worry, I will be with you on the sunrise safari, and before VM and I head off on our adventure. So, I know you guys, some people might be a bit grossed out, but what he's doing at the moment is actually licking up the brains. Of course, they're not very hard or chewy, and a very good source of protein. Who knows, maybe it'll make him smarter. So as night begins to set here on Djuma Private Game Reserve, it has been absolutely splendid having you all with us. And I know VM and myself have thoroughly enjoyed taking you on an adventure through the wonderful place we call home. And in a few ways it's going to be quite sad, because he's probably going to disperse into area. We won't see him again, but who knows, maybe he'll come back for the occasional visit. Or maybe we'll find him a few years down the road. But from all of us here at Safari Live, it's been a pleasure, and see you in the morning.